Cool, man.
You're listening to the DJ Doran Show, a Doran Omni Media production. Warning, the DJ Doran Show contains adult language, mature content, cerebral debate, and thought-provoking conversation. Listener discretion is advised. Call 312-235-2281 to be a part of the discussion. That's 312-235-2281. And now, Chicago's perspicacious host of your sane radio obsession, DJ Doran.
I just thought that was so apropos.
Oh, my God.
Today. Anyway, listen, before we get going, you're listening to the DJ Doran Show. I'm here with my co-host today, Rachel V. And we have so much to cover. There's so much going on in the news I want to talk about. But that scream, I'm probably going to play a few times during the show. And the reason being is because if you follow the news at all, that's what you would be doing. I am so sick to death of what I see in the news. You have no idea. So today, well, there's so many things, but the latest thing is yesterday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi made a statement that she was not going to call a vote to formalize the impeachment of President Trump, and I think rightfully so. I mean, I'm just going to tell you my opinion. This whole impeachment inquiry is nothing but bullshit. Absolute bullshit. She doesn't have the votes, and if she did call it a formal inquiry, then the committee would have to allow the Republicans to subpoena and cross-examine witnesses, and they don't want to do that because they enjoy this one-sided thing, and they have a very friendly media that is happy to just report what they say and nothing else. And so to me, when all is said and done, this is going to come out that this was the biggest bullshit scam ever perpetrated on the American people. And what a disservice to the American people. We elect these people to go to Congress and to lead the country and to act on our behalf, to actually get stuff done, to actually govern, to actually legislate. And we are instead subjected to this daily diatribe of bullshit, political theater, backstabbing, backbiting from both sides. So I'm not going to say it's one side or the other. I am a confirmed independent. I just want everyone to know that. I am a gay man who's a confirmed independent. I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I agree with some Republican things, and I agree with most Democratic things. So the term I came up with for myself was I'm a conservative liberal. That's what I am.
Yeah.
And so I am so disappointed in these people. Now, apparently Trump and Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer had a meeting today, and President Trump got frustrated, called Nancy Pelosi a third-rate politician, and then, of course, they all run out and they get in front of the microphones. Oh my God! Oh my God! President Trump, we need to pray for his mental health. I want to kind of give you
We're being persecuted.
Right. I want to kind of give you another viewpoint. Is if somebody was doing that to me, and somebody did do that to me a few years ago, you reach a point where you're like, fuck you. I am now going to fight back. You, who the hell do you think you are? They go in there and they basically harass this president for a whole year. Investigation after investigation comes up with nothing but circumstantial evidence and whatever, and innuendo. Even Adam Schiff is now coming to light that he fabricated testimony. He had contact with the whistleblower. I mean, this is all bullshit. Why aren't we outraged? Forget Donald Trump. I mean, I don't give two shits about him. He's a horrible president. I get it. He's not an inspirational leader. He's a thug in every sense of the word as far as a bully. But I'm sorry. At what point do you fight back and say, I've had enough?
Right.
So, in my mind, they're just as bad. They are just as bad. And all they do are these waste our time and waste our money on these endless investigations that don't mean anything. And by the way, let's pull back the veil a little bit to see how deep that corruption is on the Democratic side. I think this is all about power anyway, but we'll get into that another day. But for today, I just wanted to say that those two headlines caught my eye, and I'm gonna have a lot to say about it. But right now, I'm so sick of it. I am absolutely sick of it. They go into the White House, they create a firestorm, and then they rush to the podium to have a press conference. It's like, ugh.
Daily bullshit news is
it's daily
accurate.
It's daily bullshit news. And did you watch the Democratic debate at all?
I watched a couple of them. What was there a new one or something?
Yeah, last night.
Oh, I did not watch that.
Okay, all in all, crazy Bernie Sanders and wackadoodle liar Elizabeth Warren. For all of you that support them, I mean, you rail on Trump for lying. He this and that, and yet you willingly following someone that completely lied about her heritage, completely lied about several other incidents, how she got fired and whatever, and that's okay. And Bernie Sanders just had a heart attack, for God's sake. Yeah. You want his thumb on the nuclear button? And by the way, how do you propose that you give everyone free health care and give everyone 100% employment in the United States? How do we pay for that? Right? Oh, basically, you just tax the wealthy, and guess where the wealthy are going to go when they realize that? Out of this country, because they can afford to, until there's another president that has, some common sense in the office. So I just don't see any of these Democrats having even the slightest shot against Trump. So I'm preparing myself. I would suggest everyone else prepare yourself for his reelection, and I would predict it's going to be a landslide, quite frankly. So combined, the Democrats raised or have $30 million, I read somewhere. $37 million, I think, or some ridiculous amount. The DNC has $37 million. The RNC and Trump has $354 million.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. So who do you think is going to win? I'm telling you. So all of this other stuff is just crazy. Ugh. I swear. I mean, I know I want to talk about politics and current events, but there's so much here I don't even know where to start. But here's something that is that I do want to talk about, and that is this guy in Chicago, right here in Chicago. He was on the Blue Line,
right?
And there was a guy also on the Blue Line who was going around and robbing people with a gun. And so this guy got off the train. He noticed that a lot of people that were in town for the Chicago Marathon, which just took place last weekend.
That's when it happened?
Yeah. They were rushing off the train. And so he asked somebody, what was going on. And they said, there's a guy on the train robbing everyone. So he got pissed off, and he walked back into the train. Now, this is a 54-year-old man from Boston. And he walked in, found the guy, walked up to him, and took the gun away from him, and then held him against the wall until the police came. And then this guy had some friends, and they were threatening him and whatever. And he's like, listen, I'm a boxer and a karate expert. Go ahead. Make your move. I'll break your neck in 2 seconds and be okay with it. And so he held him. But what I found, two things. One is, hooray for someone actually doing something and standing up against these guys. But two, everybody else on the train did nothing.
Well, what would you expect a bunch of people on a train to do?
I don't know, but I'm just saying it is terrifying. But I don't know. I don't even know what I would do. I mean, it's easy to sit back and be an armchair quarterback, but I think that part of it is I would be so angry at the violation. I'm not sure I would walk back onto the train, because I would be figuring that if nobody else is doing anything, then let them get robbed, But I think if I was in there and I was part of that group being robbed, especially the guy, from what I saw in the video, didn't look like he had like he wasn't a seasoned criminal or anything. I mean, he was pretty easily disarmed. Not to take anything away from the guy who disarmed him, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
But that's the thing, though, and a lot of people misunderstand that part of dangerous people, is that no matter what, you could be like 90 pounds and the fucking 5'2", but you're still threatening with a firearm. And people who especially don't know what they're doing and they're too scared to actually know what they're doing, like say maybe they're not a seasoned veteran. Well, if they see somebody rushing at them, split second later they'll just start shooting people because they're too scared. And it's one thing to threaten somebody with your fists. Obviously that's a different thing, but once you have a firearm and people understand, oh shit, I'm gonna get arrested, you might start shooting people.
That's true. Well, listen, it comes down to this: is there are crazies in this world. Doesn't matter where you are. The blue line on our train here, and somebody walks around and is doing that, and it just further reminds me that your life can be altered in a single day, in a single moment.
Yeah.
But we're going to Mexico at the end of the month for a conference for my real job. Right. And people always say, "Oh my God, are you so afraid to go to Mexico?" And then you read stories like this right in Chicago. It's like, no, I'm not, because it's. For God's sakes, it happens right here. Yeah. But anyway, there's so much going on in the world. For politics, that's a news thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into politics was, I think it was yesterday, Felicity Huffman, you know her? Yeah. Part of the college scandal. Right, yeah. Well, she reported to prison yesterday, 10 days early or a day before. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. And the news was going wild. Felicity Huffman is behind bars. She's inmate number 1856, 50, whatever her number is, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're making it sound like she's going to, to the chain gang, right? She's going to the Federal Correctional Institution in Dublin, California, which is a minimum security prison. It's basically a school with some chain link fencing around it. They have painting, and they have arts and crafts, and this and that and this and that, right? So it's not prison like they make it sound like, oh my God, she's going to the big house. No, she's basically going somewhere, and she's not going to be allowed to go play at night. She's not going to live in her multi-million-dollar home. She's going to be in a room or whatever with other non-violent, aggressive housewives, in essence, right? And by the way, for 14 fucking days.
It's only 14 days.
Yes. Come on. Give me a goddamn
Hardened
break.
Criminal, man.
Yeah. So, try going into the county jail for, 2 months, where you're sleeping on a bunk bed with 25 or 30 other sweaty, stinky people, and you're getting your food served in a partitioned plate, sitting in the common area playing cribbage. I say that because, I did that years ago. I got in trouble, and I had to go to the county jail. And that's what I did. You wear these over baggy onesies, right? And your stuff is flapping around, and you're like, I just want to keep to myself and be left alone. But you can't be left alone, because even when you go to bed, everybody's watching TV because they have nothing else. And a lot of these people were, drugs and more hardened criminals than I was. I wrote a bad check. That's what I did, and I think it was, or some stupid thing. And so I was there for 7 days, and 7 or 8 days. And, and you're like, I just want to go to sleep. They have a stand-up shower, if I remember correctly, with a vinyl curtain that was always ripped. And then they have a toilet that had a half wall. So, you can't even take a shit in private. Yeah. You know what I mean? That part was super horrible. All stainless steel, though, But that's what it is. That cured me. I never want to ever go back there ever again. But come on. She paid some money to cheat to get her daughter in college. Did she really have to go to jail? She'd never been in trouble before. This was just stupid.
It's possible, but at the same time, it's not always that the media reaches whatever somebody's charged with. They may report it to an absurd extent, but she got convicted.
She got convicted, so. and that's it. But you know what? Then you have, I saw something that in Chicago, some newscaster got kidnapped, and her. This was like in the 70s or 80s. She got shot in the head, back, and neck, but survived. and the other guy that got kidnapped with her, he was killed. But the guy who perpetrated the act got parole in like 10 years.
Oof. That's shitty.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. You're sending this woman to jail for 14 days. Now, granted, I am not happy about it, but this is how the rich operate.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the way it is. She got caught. But to her credit, she didn't make excuses. She accepted responsibility. She's doing her jail time, and she'll be home before Halloween.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll be over with.
Yeah.
Now, Lori Loughlin, the other one involved, who pled not guilty and is going to go to trial, she is probably going to get some real jail time.
Damn.
So, but Felicity Huffman spent $50,000.
Yeah.
Lori Loughlin spent $500,000.
Oh wow. Yeah, there's certain levels to it.
Yeah, if she doesn't go to jail, there'll be outrage.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that's in the news. So, and then the other thing that I read, you know who Ronan Farrow is?
Mm-mm.
He's Mia Farrow's son, but he's a journalist, and he wrote this explosive expose that kicked off the Me Too movement.
Okay.
Anyway, he's in the news lately, and he wrote this book called Catch and Kill. And basically what he was saying is at his time at NBC had a culture of protecting these sexual predators. Like
obviously.
Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein.
Not surprising.
And all the rest in that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's pretty explosive. And then a woman came out and said that Matt Lauer, raped her. And, it's just, if you believe that stuff, it is just crazy what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah. But the worst thing is that you can understand how it happens, why it happens, and how it can continue happening and people getting away with it. I mean,
money and power.
Yeah.
Once you have a lot of money and power, you think you're untouchable. And then even if you cross the line, you can pay people off. Like, I think it's funny, in one of the things the president of NBC said, Ronan Farrow is just trying to defame us and this and that and this and that. Yet the people that were paid off to settle with these sexual harassment claims had to sign a non-disclosure agreement that basically prevents them from speaking.
Yeah.
If you have nothing to hide, why would you do that?
Exactly.
Right? So it's kind of fun to watch in a way.
Yeah, we can take a lot of lessons from just R. Kelly alone.
Yes.
Just from that alone, you can understand exactly how rich people and people who are worth something, like money-wise, can get away with just atrocious shit. Yes, it is fascinating. And I mean, this isn't new.
No.
Oh, absolutely not.
This has been going on for eons. So, it's just, but now it's out in the open. It used to be done in secret. Now it's out in the open. But I think that's funny. And then the other thing I want to talk about before we get into some specific subjects here, and that is, I thought it was interesting. I read this article about the head of CNN.
Okay.
The head of CNN right now is a guy who helped, I guess, launch The Apprentice or whatever, Donald Trump's TV show.
Yeah.
Well, he hates Trump. He hates him with a passion. And there are some leaked memos that are basically saying, we are going to go after him, and we're going to only report negative. We're not going to report anything else. We're going to omit this. We're going to do that. And it's absolutely frightening that people can do that people will do that people are capable of doing that. And you just think, like, I remember thinking to myself, what if I was the target of that? What if somebody in power like that, who had a platform, said, I am going to target you, DJ, and I am going to dig up every bit of dirt, which, by the way, there's a lot of.
Yeah.
But most of it's public anyway, so I don't care. But dig up all this dirt, and let's say I'm trying to do something in the public, and they come at me and they say, oh, and you did this, and you were in jail for that, and you did this, and you made a mistake here, and you made a mistake here, and then on top of that, they didn't just dig up facts, they made up shit.
Yeah.
I mean, why aren't we as a society outraged?
Because we believe it.
Because we believe, and we want to believe it.
Also, to be fair, there was quite a few people that didn't like Trump during the Apprentice years. I don't think there's a lot of people that were in The Apprentice that actually enjoyed being around him.
I never liked him.
Yeah, I never did.
I hate the way he speaks. I mean, it was fun to watch him be, an asshole.
Oh, well, no, I don't mean the public. I mean people who worked with him.
Oh, yeah, no.
They've all been pretty outspoken about how much they don't actually like him.
They don't like him.
They've never really
Right,
liked him.
so, now... but the thing is, I would expect more from a media outlet.
Yeah,
That's the problem is,
makes your skin crawl a little bit.
Makes my skin crawl. It's like... You have CNN, the most respected name in news at one point.
Yeah, right.
Are you fucking kidding me? You are a joke. You're a joke. The only reason why I even look at anything on CNN is to laugh and to watch that patheticness of their reporting. Mm-hmm. Now, do they have good people in their organization?
Probably.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Do they have journalists trying to do the best thing? Absolutely.
That's what they're hired for.
Same thing, Fox News and all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Within every organization, there are always good people. But those good people don't run the organization.
Exactly.
Those good people don't dictate the narrative. Those good people don't determine the editorial. Mm-hmm. They do their best within their sphere. So now you have these news organizations that are completely biased, revealed to be completely biased, and yet we still watch them. We still listen to them. Elizabeth Warren, I'm going to step aside. Let me step back regarding media first. But So you have all of these media organizations that they're not interested in the truth. Mm-hmm. They're not interested in anything. We're intellectually lazy, as I've said before. And so we just want someone to tell us what to think.
Yeah.
We want someone to help us feel outraged and victimized. And we want people to... We want these organizations to do all the heavy lifting so that we don't have to do it. So, of course, that's a lot of power. If I said to you, Rachel, the sky is yellow.
Sure.
And you are like, the sky is yellow. Right? Because I said so and you trust me. Mm-hmm. Now, you don't have to determine and say, well, no, DJ, the sky is blue. And then I have to research it to prove that it's blue and not yellow. You don't want to do that because you're lazy. Mm-hmm. And so you just say the sky is yellow. I say the human race is a infestation.
Sure.
Right? And so you start parroting that. The human race is an infestation because I said it was. Mm. Right? You didn't do any homework to determine the veracity of my statement. You didn't do any homework to teach yourself or educate yourself about what I said, whether it was the truth or not. You just believed it. That's the world we live in. Yeah. So you have educated people who are intellectually lazy believing this stuff. So these media organizations, they have sort of said, hey, you know what? We don't have to worry about reporting the truth anymore because what we can do is I can say to Rachel, Donald Trump hates this planet and doesn't care about clean water or air, right? And you go out and you tell your friends, Donald Trump doesn't care about air or water. He doesn't care about clean air or water, right? Let's protest that because that is wrong. That is so wrong. I hate him. I hate that. And blah, 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 right? But you didn't do anything to determine whether or not that statement was correct. Do you think I would feel powerful?
Probably.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I would say, yeah.
So my whole thing, the whole shtick about this show and the whole thing that I really want to impart is there's a lot of horrible shit going on.
Sure.
This president is a horrible president, right? I don't agree with a lot of what he does. But that doesn't excuse me from doing the homework and doing the due diligence to determine what other people are telling me is the truth about what he's doing. I want to know the facts. We should all want to know the facts. We search, our phone for movie times. We search our phone for, what's trending and Instagram and this and that. Yet we will not research the facts on something that presses an emotional button with us.
True.
And so that's on us. That's on us collectively as a society. We need to educate ourselves about what the facts are so that when when a politician comes out and says, "Oh, I heard this thing today. It was about abortion." But they wouldn't say the word abortion. They kept calling it
Really?
They kept calling it what'd they call it? Pre-birth health care? No.
Like,
They called it some other thing, and it was really about abortion.
oh my
But they
God.
wouldn't call it abortion. They just kept calling it pre-birth, health care or whatever. And then it talked about, stay out of our bodies, and it is about our bodies. It's about our bodies, and you have no right to dictate to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made me think about something.
Sure.
If that's the case,
Oh, hold on. Are we gonna have a discussion about abortion right now?
no.
Okay.
We're talking. This is a philosophical
Okay, gotcha.
thing about government intrusion into our rights.
All right, carry on.
If that's the case, if you can tell me to stay out of your body because it's your decision, fine. And by the way, I do agree with that because that's between you and your God,
Yeah.
if you believe in it. I don't think the government should be involved. However, having said that, we have laws,
Yeah.
right? So if that's the case and you want me out of your body, then could I technically say, I want you out of my murderous tendencies?
What? That confused me a little.
Okay. Because you want control over your body,
Mm-hmm.
right? Follow me?
Yep.
Then what happens if you have murderous tendencies? Does the government have the right to stop you?
Sure.
Why
Yeah.
is that okay?
'Cause you're killing people?
See where I'm going with this?
No.
Abortion is the aborting of a fetus or a living or debatably living fetus, right?
Uh-huh.
Because, and I'm
Hang on.
treading.
I thought we weren't going to talk about abortion.
We're not talking about abortion. We're talking about how the government views
Ah,
law.
I thought we were talking about how you view
No.
what abortion is.
No. This is about how the government views it. So what I'm trying to say is let's educate ourselves how it's viewed. So that argument is that if we have the right to stop you
Mm-hmm.
from behaving in such a way that is detrimental to others,
Sure.
right, or yourself,
Mm-hmm.
how can we now not have the right to prevent you from hurting a fetus?
True.
Now I'm going to close this circle. People always try and trap me in that, and they say, oh, so you're supporting abortion
No,
or
no,
you're
I
not
know.
supporting abortion. Here's where I say it. The pro-life people
Mm-hmm.
cannot prove without a shadow of a doubt that life begins at conception,
You can't prove otherwise either.
and the pro-abortion people cannot prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that life does not begin at conception.
Even doctors don't agree on that.
That's right. So my view is this. If neither side can prove their case, how can you choose to support or not support one or the other?
Good question.
That's the conundrum, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
So-
not for me. I understand.
No, but I'm just saying is the conundrum
generally,
of
yeah.
thought.
Yeah,
right?
it is,
Forget
it
the
is,
act,
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So that's a conundrum of thought. So what I have chosen to do is say, I don't agree with abortion
Mhm.
because I personally would err on the side of caution. In the absence of fact,
Mm-hmm.
I would err on the side of caution.
Sure.
So flying an airplane, as you know, I'm a pilot.
Yeah.
If I'm flying and I know that I need 16 gallons of fuel to get from point A to point B,
Uh-huh.
right? I would add 20 gallons to the airplane just in case.
Okay.
I would err on the side of caution to make sure that I have enough fuel in case something happens. All I'm saying is my position is I would err if I was, thank God I don't have to, by the way, but if I was confronted with that choice, my personal choice would be I would err on the side of caution. Two things. One, and this is eliminating all the exceptions.
Yeah.
Exceptions are like rape, incest, and all that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Eliminating all that, I would say to myself, I'm going to do everything I can not to get pregnant,
Okay.
right? That's the first thing I would do. I'm going to use protection. I'm going to be on the pill. I'm whatever. And even if you do all of that, nothing is 100%, you get pregnant. So that happens. Totally
Sure.
get it. But I would do everything I can to
Prevent it.
prevent myself from getting pregnant. The second thing that I would do is if I got pregnant, I would be faced with a tough choice. Mm-hmm. Carry the baby to term and then give it up for adoption. That's a hard choice. Mm-hmm. Or abort it and have to account for that in my own conscience, or if I'm a person of faith within that faith. That's a decision I actually just get goosebumps because I can't even imagine being faced with that decision.
No.
So why do we want to have other people involved? That is a fundamentally personal, gut-wrenching decision. Now, here's where we are. A lot of the times, people say they have abortion as a form of birth control. Like, oh, I can go out and spread my legs and get pregnant and then just abort it. It's easy. It's 1, 2, 3, right?
I don't know who thinks that way.
A lot of people. Okay. I'm just saying statistics say that.
Okay.
Most people mm-hmm. are more common sense about it. It's like, it happens. My own daughter got pregnant out of wedlock. It was a choice and challenge we all had to come to terms with, but ultimately, it was her choice.
Yeah.
And she had the babies, and we have 2 beautiful grandchildren as a result, and that's great, but it could have gone the other way. And as a matter of fact, I was actually leaning more towards you should not be having children. Uh-huh. So it is not a service to bring you into the world. Mm-hmm. It's not a service for her to bring those kids into the world. I didn't believe she'd be a good mother. Mm-hmm. I turned out to be completely wrong.
That's nice.
It was nice, but that's a gamble. Exactly. Nobody knows that. I mean, I wish I would have known how the end result turned out because she ended up being a terrific mother.
Yeah.
And we have 2 beautiful grandchildren. But you don't know that at the time. Exactly. So that's the agonizing part of it. So the point of this whole big circle is that the government should not be involved in those decisions from my perspective. Yeah. But I understand
me too.
Why they are involved. Because where do you draw that line?
Exactly.
So that's the debate. That's the horrible debate.
Yeah.
It is a horrible debate. So the only way that I believe that we're ever going to address that truthfully is just by talking about it, mm-hmm. being educated and asking those hard questions and trying to have an understanding of like, okay, that makes sense. I don't agree with that, but that makes sense. But when you have an ideological, polarized position, there is no room for understanding or education mm-hmm. or knowledge or insight. There is none. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think we are. And that's where we are in so many different things. Politics, you could go on and on and on and on. To me, that is the crux of where we are. Nobody's interested in learning, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's interested in having a conversation like you and I are having. As difficult as it is, and I could tell that we were getting uncomfortable, but once you realize that I wasn't really taking a stand about abortion one way or another, I was just trying to understand and say, okay, look at it from this point of view.
Exactly.
It takes the edge off, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes a matter of, okay, let me think about it. And this is a clear example, and it also gives me goosebumps of why I love doing this part. Why I love. I'm Italian, so I talk with my hands. So I just knock my microphone away. But why I love having these conversations because you talk about it and it brings up things that you would not have normally thought about.
Yeah.
And you start questioning your position and you say, oh, I see that. I didn't see that before. To me, if we can do that for someone, we have done a good job. Mm-hmm. Now, am I an expert
on
the topic we're discussing?
Probably not.
No, absolutely not. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a priest or a pastor or any of that. I'm just a guy who has some common sense, and I'm trying to understand so that when I talk about these issues, I can talk about them from a position of education, not ignorance. That's it. So a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't be talking about this because you're not an expert. Well, no, I should be talking about it because I'm not an expert because
educate me.
It's real life.
Yeah.
Somewhere in my life, I'm going to be faced with a person who is facing this, and I may be their only conduit to information. So I want to understand.
Exactly.
That is my ultimate goal. It's not about I'm pro-choice or pro-life or anti this or anti that.
It's not the point.
That's not the point as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, I will always say that I'm so glad I don't have to make that choice, but I have been in the position of having to counsel someone faced with that choice.
Yeah.
And that, believe it or not, Rachel, is just as hard. And if you're a decent human being, which I hope I am, you take that seriously.
Yeah.
And you want to give that person good counsel, because whatever counsel you give them, if they use part of it or all of it, could impact and affect their life for the rest of their lives. And whether they go one way or another. Do you see what I mean?
Exactly.
And I just don't want to make light of it. I want to understand it. I want to have it. I want to be educated about it. I want you to explain to me in a civil way that, hey, have you looked at it from this perspective? Have you looked at it from that perspective? And even in our show, it's not just about my perspective. I want to learn. If you have a different perspective, I want to learn. I want to be challenged on what I currently know.
Like we had many conversations initially when I started here about transgender people. And just you had a lot of questions, and I was completely happy to educate. But there were some things you also misunderstood, and
that's right.
We
and
just talked it out.
Do you remember what one of those were?
I think
I know I can tell you. It's because I remember it. What is the difference between transgender and cross-dresser or drag queen or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
and
massive differences.
And what is the difference between someone that is transgender that has the surgery to complete the transition and someone that is transgender that doesn't?
It doesn't. Usually, we don't. In my generation, we don't tend to refer to it one way or another because we don't really need to talk about that. But other people use transsexual to say that they've had surgeries. People just. What is the difference between transgender and transsexual? The smallest difference would be that the as far as I know, it was just having surgery.
Okay.
But at the same time, we don't like to specify whether or not we did. There's a lot of trans celebrities that'll say the same, or they're like, I don't need to tell you whether or not I got the surgery or not because it's not important. And I agree with that sentiment. So
I don't need to know about your anatomy differences and all of that. My one thing that I've learned, and I am continuing to learn, and that is that people have the right to live their best life.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Whether I agree with it, whether I understand it or not, is irrelevant.
Exactly.
I don't really like you, but that's not true.
I was about to say, you keep inviting me.
I know. I don't know. It's like a vampire. Once you invite them in, they can just come and go and eat your food at will. Rachel doesn't suck any blood. She just goes to the cabinets. And
damn.
And
not even true.
That is so true. And then okay, the refrigerator. But if DJ forgets to go shopping, then what? But no, I like you very much. And the thing is my affection for you has nothing to do with your identity. Yeah, your gender identity or your sexual identity has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the human being that you are.
Yeah,
and I just had this.
Hope so.
I just had this conversation with someone else, and we didn't agree politically. Although I don't think many in our community would agree with me on anything.
That's true.
Politically, but I saw something that they posted because they're non-binary, which is also I'm trying to get my arms around. Although they told me I could call them he because he more closely identifies that. So
okay.
So, but I got his permission, and so that's fine. So, I saw something that he posted, and I was like, oh, he doesn't know anything about me, and I like him. What a lovely human, right? But I'm like, if he finds out about me through any other source, it's going to be bad. So I took him to dinner.
Right, you told me
the other day, and worked it out, and he laughed, and he's like, "Oh, I have strong opinions." And he told me, and he got emotional. He had such a rough life growing up. Oh my God! And I was like, "How do you become such a nice person after that?" He had a shitty father and everything. Luckily, he has a good relationship with his mother. But the point is like, how do you become a nice person after that? And he is. He's a delightful person. And so I was really worried that he wouldn't want to be my friend after that. And just reminded me and taught me another lesson about how people are people. Focus on that. Focus on the fact of what kind of human they are. Everything else is just part of the fabric. And and I can't even believe I'm saying it because it sounds so left-wing liberal, but I really am evolving that way. And it used to be, and this is why I know it works. It used to be that I had a vision of myself and a vision of the life that I wanted, and a vision of the people I wanted around me was this. Mm-hmm. And it was all a certain type, right?
Yeah.
And having you here and Winnie as my friend, and a few other people have really taught me that friendships come from all sources and all types of people. And if you close yourself off to someone that is different from you, you are also closing yourself off from potential friendships.
Yeah.
And that actually, it sounds easy, Rachel. It sounds like that's a common sense thing, but it really wasn't. It was a really difficult thing for me. I remember distinctly when I was talking to you, and afterwards I'm like, I don't know. It's like
you were so scared.
I wasn't scared.
Or you were like I was walking on eggshells.
I just didn't want to introduce that element into my life. Yeah. I was like, I wasn't sure I wanted to introduce that element because then I would have to work at it and I would be outside of my element. But because you surround yourself with things that make you feel comfortable, that you are comfortable with. So it's kind of hard to say, I'm gonna surround myself with, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I can think of. What could be the antithesis of what you like? I
don't know. Luxury or like big. I don't understand.
No. I'm gonna say a gun-toting, pickup driving, Confederate. I don't know. That's all I can think of. Ku Klux Klansman. I don't know.
Sure.
Okay. Why would you surround yourself with that, right?
Exactly.
Because it's the antithesis of who you are, what you value.
Uh-huh.
Now.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay.
Yeah. So to me, that's a little bit extreme, but I was just trying to pull something from the air. But
I got
but the thing is like to have you here, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna have someone that I think I can count on one hand the number of transgender people that I know in 59 years.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like the norm for me. Mm. The same thing for non-binary, purple hair, piercing guys that dress like women who are they and them and this and that. Uh-huh. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that part. What I'm going to worry about is she going to be a good person? And will she make the show fun? And will she contribute to the show? I'm still waiting for that, by the way. That is what I focused on. And that is, to me, that's the lesson. I wish I could tell it to all of my friends that are nowhere near where I am right now, that it's not that scary. And that comes from ignorance, which is why I rail against time and time again. And I'll continue to rail for as long as I do this show, that education is the key to solving the issues that we face. Because when you are educated, and even though there are racist educated people, education is a constant pressure of, I'm racist, but I shouldn't be. It makes no sense. I'm racist, but I shouldn't be because you see what I'm saying? Yep. But when you're ignorant, you're racist, and you are like happy with it.
Yeah. It's just weird. And trust me, I've run into that many, many times before. I've had even like bosses of mine who were a certain type that were completely against every type of thing that I am, and then I completely changed their mind because exactly, get down to it, just to the human center. The human
center, and I think that's the issue that is important to me. And as we go through all of these political issues, and as we go through all these other issues, I don't really care about your ideology or their ideology or my ideology. I want to know the truth first. Mm-hmm. Then I can choose my side.
Exactly.
But I want to know the truth. I don't want somebody telling me what to believe. I don't want anybody telling me what the truth is. I want someone to present the facts and let me check the facts for accuracy, and then I will determine who I believe and who I support. Mm-hmm. I am not going to subscribe to or be baited into responding emotionally because somebody says something that triggers me, if you will, to use that term. Mm-hmm. Like Trump hates gays. Okay. Most gays, oh, yes, he does. Oh, my God. We need to get him out of office. Right? Fucking fact check. See if he hates gays. Ask questions. Dig around and find out, you know?
Exactly.
I had someone in the Uber the other day. We were talking politics. It was a great conversation, which is another reason why I like driving for Uber. Is this guy was an educated guy talking about politics, and he was just like me, a centrist, except he was straight. And one of the things he was talking about, he goes, well, you know, if I had to say, you know, how Trump is affecting the LGBTQ community, he said it would be through the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said to him, okay, that's great. So he's putting judges on the Supreme Court, but he is not making laws.
Exactly.
He's putting a judge there that's supposed to be impartial. They could be conservative leaning, but they are supposed to be impartial and enforce the Constitution.
It was supposed to be.
Right. They're not legislators.
Yeah.
Right? So he's putting judges on there. Okay, that's one way to do it. But Trump isn't personally signing laws or doing any of that.
True.
He is. So my question to him was, what has this president done where he has got out in the public, spearheaded, and said, I want to rescind LGBT rights?
And yeah, if you even look at all of the big stuff that's coming up for it on the Supreme Court, it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't even happened yet.
It's on the floor. I mean, it's gonna, but there's some things about employment and stuff like that.
Right, but if you look at the thing that's coming up before the Supreme Court, and I don't want to get too far into this because I don't have enough information.
Gotcha.
But really, all they're doing is interpreting whether or not the law that is enacted is constitutional.
Exactly.
They're not making a judgment one way or another. You can have a law. Anybody can write a law. I can write a law that transgender people should be given $50,000 a year, and the Congress passes it, right? And then somebody questions it and says, we're going to challenge it and we're going to go through the court system. It gets up to the Supreme Court, right?
Like the abortion thing.
Right. The Supreme Court is not saying, hey, you're not worth getting $50,000 a year for. They're not doing that. All they're concerned is whether or not the law that was created fits within the framework of what the Constitution allows.
Exactly.
So that's where I that's where I sort of bristle a little bit, is that when people say, oh, the president is against this or against that, read about it.
Yeah.
Educate yourself and understand that this law that is going before the Supreme Court is not challenging our right to exist. It is challenging whether or not a law is constitutional to enforce anything on either side of the spectrum.
Exactly.
And the problem is because people on our side, in our community, they want it to be a certain way, so now they feel threatened because they're not going to get what they want.
Yeah.
It is not about what you want. It is about what is legal.
Exactly. And forming the argument to convince what you want.
That's right. So those are the nuances that I think are important to note. And I hope that as we continue to do our shows, that as we talk about specific topics or current events or whatever, that we provide a kernel of inspiration for people to do their homework, to educate yourself. You can be completely in disagreement. There's, remember that, I think we talked about it last week where I said, this is an Apple MacBook Pro.
Oh, right, yeah.
And you love Apple and I hate Apple, but it doesn't change the fact that this is a MacBook Pro.
Exactly.
I used that analogy in a conversation yesterday, and the more I say it, the more I truly believe that you can have differing opinions. Differing opinions doesn't alter the facts. It's just a different opinion.
Exactly.
Right? But doesn't alter the fact. That's what I want to focus on. Here are the facts. You may not like it, and you can have an opinion of why you hate it and all of that, and it's totally valid. But it doesn't change the fact that this is it. This is a fact. Okay, on that note, we're going to take a hard break, and we're going to do a commercial by our friends at Joe Eats World, where Chef Joe Morales eats and drinks his way around the world. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to the DJ Doran Show, and I know you're enjoying yourself, because we are. All right, so we'll be right back. This episode of the DJ Doran Show is brought to you by our friends at Joe Eats World, featuring Chef Joe Morales as he eats and drinks his way through life, sharing recipes, dining experiences, and cooking tips. Be sure to follow him at joeeatsworld.com and on his Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All right. Well, we're back, and I know our studio audience is very happy. I know I love doing that part. I do. So as we enter into the final segment of our show, I think yet again we have sort of taken another step forward to sort of determining what the personality of our upcoming shows are going to be about. Mm-hmm. And there's so much going on in the world. I don't think we're going to have any problem finding enough content to talk about, whether or not people agree with us or not. And I'm excited that probably in the next couple of weeks, probably by November, we're going to have an actual call-in feature, which should be really fun because we're going to get all sorts of opinions, and so
all over the place.
Yes, and so that'll be fun, and we encourage that as long as you're civil. I'm always going to say that you can have whatever opinion that you want. You can agree or disagree with us vehemently any way that you want, as long as you are civil in your delivery. Yeah. The minute you become an asshole, I'm cutting you off.
And we have that power, so we'll use it.
And we have that power, and I'm not afraid to use it, and neither is Rachel. And I'm going to give her a lightsaber.
Nice. I'd like a lightsaber.
I'm sure you would. Hey, speaking of that, as we do the last few minutes of the show, is I keep getting these teaser. This is way off politics, but so much fun. I keep getting these notifications on Facebook and anything about like pictures from the Rise of Skywalker movie that's coming up. And I'm actually really excited about it to a degree. I hope it's not a letdown. You know, any of these movies are a crapshoot anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
So I hope it's not a letdown, but I am looking forward to it. I really am. And then, I still haven't seen It Part 2.
You still haven't seen it?
No.
I don't think it's even in theaters anymore.
Yeah, it is still in theaters.
It's still in theaters?
Yeah. And so we'll go see it. But we've been traveling so much, and then we're getting ready to leave in a couple of weeks. So less than a couple of weeks. We're leaving on the 24th. So that's what? For 8 days? Not, a week, I guess.
Yeah.
And I still haven't seen The Joker. Have you seen The Joker?
I have not seen The Joker. Oh. No. I wanted to, though.
You do want to see it? Mm. I've heard people say that it's super disturbing, but you can't stop watching it. And I'm thinking to myself, it's a fucking movie.
Yeah, right?
Jaws was super disturbing, but I still watched it. Mm-hmm. They'll go watch. I think that's funny that they say it's super disturbing and it could cause violence.
Yeah,
and we're not going to show it because, we want to be sensitive. Yet you'll show Saw or Scream or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or blah, 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 times 100.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, anybody who's watched The Joker, they can completely dispel all of that. It's like, it's just a movie. It's nothing even all that graphic either.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, what I want to do when these snowflake liberal crazies start going that, I want to just walk up to them and go...
Well, to be fair, I will say, I'm like... I would only be hesitant because I'm like, I don't really need to see another movie about, a suffering white guy surviving in this society. Because I'm like, okay, I get it. I
would debate you that he is a white guy.
Yeah,
he is a creeper in any color.
That's what I mean. I hope that's not part of the plot. That's what I mean.
Oh,
I think people have said that, but I just really hope it's like, I'm a tormented white guy, and it's like I don't.
No, he's just a creeper.
He's just a creeper.
That's his that's the common denominator.
Yeah,
he's a creeper. And actually, speaking of creeper white guys. I saw in the news the other day there was a serial killer that has confessed to like 300 murders over 25 years, and he was an African-American guy, which is really uncommon for a serial killer.
Usually, yes.
Believe it or not, they're mostly middle-aged white men.
Yeah. Well, I can believe that.
Yeah, well, you can. But as a middle-aged white man, well, I'm not really middle-aged because I'm closer to death than life. So you better listen to the show because I may not be around much longer. Could happen any day. Like my brother says, every day is a possible. No, what does he say? Anytime, anywhere. Wow, thank you for the happy, uplifting, speech there.
Well, you brought up Joker.
I know, but
anything gets happy after that.
I know, but so I thought that was really interesting. Like African American serial killers and women serial killers are not very common. And by the way, here's a thought. When is the last time you heard of an Asian serial killer?
I don't know. Probably not reported in the news.
No, because they're probably clean. Like, they're super clean. They're like Dexter. It's like,
Right?
Would you be a good serial killer?
Me? Fuck no.
No, I wouldn't either because I don't like blood. And I don't like the stickiness of it, so I would be like having to wear gloves, and I'd have a whole bodysuit like Dexter. But more importantly, I don't like the smell of human body on the outside, so I'm not sure I'd like the smell of the human body from the inside. Because like when you die, you poop and pee and everything, all those fluids.
You start to decay. It's not clean.
No,
man.
see, that's why I would never be a serial killer. As much as I sometimes think about it, just kidding, JK, as Joe says, I could never do it because it's too dirty. Just like suicide, not to make light of it, but for me, I would never do it because it's dirty, like it's a dirty business. Now, if I could just sit, watch a sunrise, close my eyes, and go to wherever I'm going, possibly. But if it requires me to do anything like Kurt Cobain or anything like that, no.
Plus, why would you
And I don't like
pain.
pain.
Have to find you.
And I don't like pain either. So I don't want any pain.
Exactly. Well, yeah, people are eventually going to find you, and they're going to somebody like one of your loved ones is going to have to clean that.
Ew, I know. So nope. That's why I don't. I like to have a clean, managed, organized life. For certain things, especially when it comes to that. Even now, you know what my biggest fear about death is that I'm going to die, and then people are going to have to come in, and my bed's going to smell like poop or something. Although I guess it doesn't really matter at that point.
At that point, no, probably not.
I don't know how we segued off into that, but that was really kind of gross. I swear that never gets old. I swear that's my favorite sound effect, and I'm gonna play that every time one of these politicians come out. I'm gonna play that first and go off. So hey, so before we close, we have like 3 minutes left. But before we close, I want everyone to know that number one, thank you for listening, all three of you. And the second thing is you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podomatic, Spotify, and a few others. Any major podcasting platform, you can find the DJ Doran Show. So I hope you'll listen and I hope you'll follow us because we're just going to get better and better as we go, and we are getting better. I mean, the technical issues are still here, but I blame Spreaker for most of it. But 97.65% of it we have figured out.
Yeah, it's working out so far. I just need more time. I have to have better time management to prepare. I think that would save a lot of stress too. Now, one thing I did do is I think I told you earlier is I've created 2 other podcasts that I think are going to be interesting that are more specific. So the second podcast is the Gaycation Travel Show, where we're just going to talk about gay travel and the ins and outs of gay travel, tips and insights about how to travel in this big world of ours as a LGBTQ person. And it's going to be more experiential. So we're not going to talk about going somewhere where there are parties like the white party or the purple party and, where everyone's dancing or whatever. We're going to talk about experiencing destinations. Wait, does that have anything to do with that TV show documentary series called Gaycation?
No, that was on Vice.
Yeah.
And they stole that name from me. They trademarked it on top of me.
Oh, shit.
So I still have the ability to use it.
Yeah.
They can't stop me from using it, but they were able to get the trademark because I didn't have the money to get the trademark.
Some bitch.
Yeah, but I've been publishing Gaycation magazine for years, and so that the travel show is my radio show.
Gotcha. Okay.
And by the way, that show with Ellen Page did like a season and a half and then just disappeared.
I know. I was kind of mad. I actually really liked it.
And the thing is, though, that wasn't really a travel show, Rachel. They were all politics. Like, she would ambush politicians, and it was stupid. And for someone that really is passionate about travel, that wasn't about travel. That was about bullshit.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, it was definitely not about travel. But I did enjoy it. I mean, I did like seeing, especially how trans people live their lives in other countries. It's just very eye opening. I mean, the difference between like Jamaica and Brazil is wow.
Yes, but see, that should have been like an expose documentary show, not a travel show.
I agree.
What I would have liked to have seen is Rachel riding a camel at Giza,
right,
in Egypt.
Yeah,
and that's travel to me. But exposing how trans people live in other countries or how gay people are treated in other countries. That's not travel. That is, here are the gay policies of this country, and this is how our community exists there or tries to exist there. Our show is all about travel. You book a flight, you go there, you're sightseeing, it's fun, it's positive, it's inspirational. It's not ambushing politicians. Do you see what I mean? So I created the Gaycation Travel podcast, and eventually we'll have a video show, I hope. And then also I created a Pride Flight podcast.
Right.
And the Pride Flight podcast is going to only talk about Pride Flight and aviation.
Yeah.
Nothing else. No politics, nothing else. So I now am hosting 3 separate podcasts. So the other 2 podcasts I'll probably do by myself because I don't think they're going to be as long as this one.
Yeah.
This is the big one because we're talking about bigger issues.
Yeah.
But the other ones are just going to be probably a 30 to 45 minute podcast about whatever. Now the travel show could be something that grows, and maybe we can work something out for you to be involved with that. But right now they're too small.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you can find all of these shows on all those podcasting platforms, and I hope you'll follow us. We're trying to do something different so that when you listen, you're educated, you're entertained, and you feel like you're sitting here in our very comfortable studio audience. And if you notice, Rachel, I have it set up with certain lighting so it feels like a warm, comfortable, inviting environment in order to do the podcast. And, was the Minister of Tourism that was here during the Gaycation podcast couldn't get over the view of Lake Michigan. I mean, we have a spectacular view of the lake from here. So not a rough gig.
No.
Not a rough gig. But here's the funny thing. She came here, and then she had an entourage of 3 other people. And I was like,
really
where are
funny.
they all going to fit?
Right.
Because our studio is not very big.
Small.
So she came in here, and the other 3 sat on the couch and entertained Joe. So I thought that was fun. Okay, well, kids, as much as I think I could go on and on for another half hour, we've actually talked for 1 hour and 2 minutes.
Whoa.
I know. Once we edit this down, we'll be down to an hour or so. But you've been listening to the DJ Doran Show on the KWIR Radio Network, and you can find us everywhere, wherever podcasts are played, or you can go to kwirmedia.com, and you can listen to the episodes there, or you can go to our YouTube channel at KWIR on YouTube, and the episode will be there as well. So until next time, and I think we're going to do another one tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do another one tomorrow. And God knows what can happen overnight in this crazy world. So stay tuned, and we'll see you again. So until then, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.